Well, my question is, and I intentionally didn't say his name, and I think you strategically helped me out there, which
Hmm.
is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander really going to win MVP? Because I have started to hear on different, content sources, we'll call them, whether that's social media or shows or podcasts or anything, NBA chatter out there that this feels real. You hear it on broadcasts and just talking to people at Suns games or wherever in my life that care about the NBA. People are moving in that direction in a way that really, really surprises me. And I believe he's not the betting favorite. Jokic is, but you
Hmm.
look at a lot of stats, and Shea is right behind Embiid. So he feels like he might be the front runner right now if OKC was able to hold on and finish ahead of Denver in the Western Conference standings. Is this really where we're headed?
My rebuttal to that is why isn't this just is why isn't is it just going to be Jokic that wins it because he's the betting favorite. I think he's widely considered the best player in the world, or at least among a lot of people considered the best player in the world. His team's the defending champ. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of just the de facto pick in a year where Embiid I think would have been the guy. It felt like if he hadn't had this issue with the 65 games, that just kind
Yeah.
of obviously cut his MVP candidacy short. I feel like Jokic would be my. If you're gonna say if I had to pick someone right now that just feels like the way this breaks, I feel like it might just be Jokic gets in their MVPs in his prime, best team in the league last year. I think one of the inner ring title contenders. I just think it might just go to him in the same way I think you're maybe saying it might just be for SGA.
Yeah. Well, so you look at remaining strength of schedule, right? OKC and Denver are pretty much neck and neck. You look at the net rating with Shea on 10.3 plus 10.3. You look at the net rating with Jokic on plus 8.7. And actually, the offensive rating with either of those two players on the court for their respective teams is basically identical. Shea's is a little higher. I think you can have a pretty interesting conversation about what value really is for a player like Shea on defense because he's not a big man and how much you should even factor that in, frankly. But to me, their cases being very, very close. The Thunder, I think, having the reputation or perception as being younger and kind of needing Shea's consistency and giving them kind of a rudder night to night. The surprise, the he was our North Star during this awful rebuild when Durant and Russ and everybody left. That's all on his side. And so if the stats are similar, and let's just say the Thunder are even like a game or two ahead of the Nuggets in the standings when it's all said and done, it'd be kind of weird to vote for Jokic at that point, wouldn't it? I mean, they're
Yeah.
literally in the same conference. If one guy beats out the other and the stats and everything else tells you he's at least as valuable, I don't know. I could definitely see it going that way.
I think there is also just a vibe within this race, Brendon, where maybe this is a year where new blood does win it. Just someone who hasn't won it before, someone who tells you where the league is going, someone who tells you who gets rewarded for elevating their team in a real way. And Shea to me would be the best candidate for that kind of parameter, right? Because his team is better than Luka. Like it would be him or Luka that would kind of be the candidate you would think of to me when you think of okay, who's the next guy that could win an MVP? Shea's team's just better than Luka's by a significant margin. So he to me would
Yeah.
be the guy if you're going to go that route and say, okay, it's not going to be Jokic, Embiid can't. We're not going to get to Giannis because the Bucks are so uneven. But Jay would be the guy, I think, if you went down the route. I think you're making a strong case.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before, right? Too, I think Shea's defense has taken a step forward this year. He creates turnovers, which even if he's not an elite defender, like up there with the best of the best of the best, that is a skill. Leading the league in steals or close to it, that matters. And his ability to just exert control over these games, especially late. And I don't look at the clutch stats every day because they fluctuate a lot, but when I think of the best guys down the stretch of a game, he does come to mind. I was really resistant to this up until recently, but because of Embiid's injury, because the Nuggets are a little lower in the standings, nobody in the East has really cemented themselves. It feels more and more like a realistic possibility.